Hi, it's Mitch from PickDawgz.com. Saturday, July the 6th, 2024, here with your Major League Baseball first 5 innings picks for today. Of course, we'll be doing first halves when the fall rolls around, but for now, it's just first 5 innings. Of course, we also do today in sports history, or today in history. And today in sports history, 2002, Serena Williams wins her first Wimbledon title. Who'd she beat? She beat her sister Venus. But, of course, Serena, oh man, possibly the greatest female or even tennis player of all time, all got started on July 6, 2002 with her first Wimbledon title. But anyways, of course, we don't need a title. All we need to do is cash in against the books. And I'll tell you what, we don't even need a full game to do it. We get it all done in the first 5 innings. Let's get it started. For our first game, we head to Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, where the Yankees are taking on the Red Sox. And of course, this mega rivalry matchup, which didn't really simmer down at all on Friday night with the Red Sox with the come-from-behind win. In this one, the Yankees go with Garrett Cole. He is the ace of the staff, but of course, still just coming back from that injured list where he really, has not been the same guy that we've seen in the past. The Red Sox go with Winkowski, who used to be, more of like a spot reliever type guy, now moved into the starting rotation. He's got a 2.80 ERA on the season and .73 over his last 3 starts, while Cole at 6.23. We look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and like I said in yesterday's video, and I've been saying for a while, this Yankee slump is a lot worse than people think. And meanwhile, the Red Sox, have not hit left-handed pitching, but they sure have hit righties at 258 over their last 10, just 228 for the Yankees. The Red Sox have also gone 11-4 in their last 15 against the Yankees. They win the first 5 in this game as well. I'll take the Red Sox in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Minnesota, where the Twins are taking on the Astros. 25 runs hit the board on Friday night in this matchup as the Astros held on for dear life and got the win. I had the Twins in that one, but you know what else? I'd say in games like that, well, at least they didn't have the under, but it didn't matter. It was a loss anyway. You take it. But in this one, the Twins go with Joe Ryan on the mound, while the Astros go with Hunter Brown, who had that horrible start to the season, but has been really good ever since. 4.07 ERA on the season, way understated, as over his last 3 games, 0.50 ERA, and it's gone on a lot further than his last 3 games. Ryan, 3.21 ERA on the season, 3.06 over his last 3 games. But we know both these teams are absolutely hitting the cover off the ball against right-handed pitching. 275 over the last 10 for the Stros, 282 for the Twinkies. I'll tell you, not a lot going to be given up here, but I just think the Astros bats a little bit better here. I'm going to take the Astros in the first 5 today. For our next game, we head to Wrigley Field in Chicago, where the Cubs are taking on the Angels. It's Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Cubbies and Tyler Anderson on the mound for the Angels. Keep waiting for this Tyler Anderson regression, and we saw a little bit of it, but really his 5.40 ERA over his last 3 starts, really most of it comes from one bad outing. Meanwhile, Kyle Hendricks, 7.48 ERA on the season and 5.51 over his last 3 starts. So he got, after a couple good starts against the Giants, he got pummeled as well against the Brewers. Meanwhile, the Cubs have absolutely dominated the American League West, winning 11 in a row against American League West teams. The Cubs come in, though, they have not been hitting the baseball well, but they are hitting lefties significantly better than they are hitting righties, hitting 269 against left-handed pitching, while the Angels come in hitting 258 versus right-handed pitching. That's, of course, over their last 10 games. I don't like the way Hendricks is pitching, and I think all good streaks come to an end. I'll take the Angels in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Texas, where the Rangers are taking on the Rays. It is Andrew Heaney on the mound for the Rangers and Taj Bradley on the mound for the Rays. The Rangers have absolutely dominated the Rays, winning 8 of the last 9 meetings of these two teams. And the thing is, Andrew Heaney, who has had his share of troubles throughout the years, comes in with a 3.50 ERA over his last 3 starts. Bradley, 1.59. How great is Bruce Bochy of a manager for the Texas Rangers? Well, he's got besides the 3 World Series with 2 different teams, he's got Andrew Heaney figured out. He doesn't care what inning it is. If he gets in trouble, he gets him the heck out of there. He doesn't let him sit in there and lose the game for them before they even get started, even if it's in the 3rd or 4th inning. I gotta say, that's why he's so great. We look at the way the Rays are hitting lefties at 352, so it could be a short outing here for Heaney, but on the other side, the Rangers hitting 245 versus righties. Even though these teams are both hitting the baseball well, I still think the first 5 goes under the number. For our next game, we go to Pittsburgh, where the Pirates are taking on the Mets. Of course, the Pirates hitting 2 grand slams against the Mets on Friday night to cash in big for us, but that's okay. It only counts for that one day, and we move on to today's game. They can't bring those runs with them. Bailey Falter on the mound here for the Pirates comes in with a 3.87 ERA on the season, 3.94 over his last 3 starts, while David Peterson for the Mets, 3.51 ERA for the season, 2.70 over his last 3 starts. Both these teams hitting left-handed pitching over their last 10 games, significantly better than they hit right-handed pitching. 272 for the Metropolitans, while the Buccos 268 versus lefties over their last 10 games. The thing is, the Pirates have not played well in the underdog role, going 3-7 in their last 10. But the thing is that when they get hot at home, they do kind of get a little bit streaky there as well, making this game a little bit tougher. I tell you, I think I trust the Mets about absolutely 0. I'll take the Pirates in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Washington, where the Nationals are hosting the Cardinals. It's Mackenzie Gore on the bump for the Nats, while Lance Lynn gets the ball for the Cardinals. This is sort of a perception versus reality type situation where Mackenzie Gore is seen as this, ace of the staff, and I'll tell you what, he has really good stuff, and we've seen him put up some really big strikeout numbers in some of the games this season. But I'll tell you, for a guy that's been around for a few years now at this point, he looks like a young pitcher who starts to wear down as the season goes on. He's got a 3.47 ERA for the season, but it's up to 4.60 over his last 3 starts, while Lance Lynn has reinvented himself back on the Cardinals, where he had most of the success in his career. 3.59 ERA for the season, 3.0 over his last 3 starts. I think that, the Cardinals also hitting the ball extremely well. We look at them versus left-handed pitching over their last 10 games, 240, while the Nats just at 226 versus righties. Lynn has a ton of guys on base all game long, but with the Cardinals, they don't seem to cross the plate. I'm going to take the Cardinals in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Oakland, where the A's are taking on the Orioles. Luis Medina on the mound for the A's, while it is Cade Povich on the mound for the Orioles. I've seen a lot of the young pitchers, well, actually all of them, right? Because I watch all the games every single day. And I've seen, all these young pitchers. And I got to say, Cade Povich, a little bit lost in the shuffle here. This guy's really good. He's just had a couple of bad pitches. That was mostly in his first outing of the year in that game against the Blue Jays, where he threw the meatball to Vladdy Guerrero. I think, the thing is that, we look at the A's, and this team, certainly fighting, certainly scrappy, but at the same time, overmatched in a lot of these games. Povich comes in with a 3.52 ERA over his last 3 starts. Medina at a respectable 3.68 as well. We look at the way the A's are hitting left-handed pitching, and that's at 243. But the Orioles hitting righties at 262, lefties at 284, hitting 268 as a team over their last 10 games. I love the Orioles in the first 5 of this one. For our next game, we head to Seattle, where the Mariners are taking on the Blue Jays. Of course, the Mariners' bats really haven't done a lot, but the Blue Jays, as a team, doing even less. We've got Rodriguez on the mound here for the Blue Jays. It's Emerson Hancock making a start here for the Mariners. Of course, Hancock was a regular in the Mariners rotation earlier this season. We don't see him as much recently. Hancock does have a 4.30 ERA over his last 3 starts, 4.79 for the season, while Rodriguez 4.44 ERA for the season, 5.0 over his last 3 starts, but Rodriguez coming off of a solid start. But the problem is he doesn't go very deep into games, and the deeper he goes, well, the worse his stuff gets. Speaking of the worse it gets, the Blue Jays play their worst against Seattle, 5-12 in their last 17, just 1-7 in their last 8 games in Seattle. I think the Blue Jays are just a team heading in the wrong direction. Look at the way they're hitting recently, and 182 versus right-handed pitching. The Mariners worse at 175 versus righties over the last 10. I don't care. I'm taking the Mariners in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Cleveland, where the Guardians are taking on the Giants. Logan Allen on the bump for the Guardians. It is Kyle Harrison on the mound for the Giants in a battle of lefties. Two lefties that have been hit extremely hard against two teams that absolutely crush left-handed pitching. The Giants have been streaky good and streaky bad, but mostly injured, while the Guardians, they're playing some solid baseball, just very consistent all season long. Harrison, 3.96 ERA on the season, 4.15 over his last 3 starts, while Logan Allen, 5.75 ERA on the season, 8.10 over his last 3 starts. The Giants hitting lefties at 254 over their last 10 games, while the Guardians check in at 295. So like I said, two pitchers giving it up in bunches against teams that hit left-handed pitching extremely well. This makes for an offensive show, and while I do like the Giants in the first 5, I think the play I'll go with here is the over. For our next game, we head to Cincinnati, where the Reds are taking on the Tigers. Hunter Green gets the ball for the Reds while it's Saturday morning and the Tigers haven't announced their starter yet. I mean, you guys only got one job. Figure it out, man. You got a whole team full of players. Just say who's starting the game for the pitcher so we all can get some bets in. Anyways, you look at this one, the Reds have been streaky good and streaky bad, but 2-7 in their last 9 interleague games. We look at Green, 3.70 ERA on the season and 4.20 ERA over his last 3 starts. We look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and the Reds hitting 200 versus righties over their last 10 and 262 against lefties, while the Tigers paltry 185 versus right-handed pitching over the last 10 and 256 over lefties. So basically, neither of these teams can hit right-handed pitching, and they both can hit lefties. But the thing is like the Tigers have not announced that starter, so we're not really sure even what's going on here. But I'll tell you what, like I said, the Reds, streaky good, streaky bad. I'm going to take the Tigers in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Miami, where the Marlins are taking on the White Sox, 2 of my favorite teams, right? And 2 teams that had the worst starts of anybody to this Major League Baseball season. But both of them have shown signs of life at times, and the White Sox go with Garrett Crochet, who has been straight fire this season. And the Marlins go with Yonny Chirinos, who has been one of the biggest surprises since returning to the majors this season. Chirinos, 3.77 ERA, while Crochet, 3.02 on the season, but 2.41 over his last 3 starts. When it comes to strikeouts per 9 innings, Crochet is right among the league leaders in that category. We look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and the way the Marlins hit lefties is 238 over their last 10 games, which is better than they hit right-handed pitching, but no one hits Crochet all that well. Meanwhile, the White Sox hitting 237 versus righties, and 275 versus lefties, but of course they face a righty here. I like the way Chirinos is pitched. I just don't think it's good enough to get it done in probably a low-scoring first 5. I'll take the White Sox first 5 of this one. For our next game, we head to Atlanta, where the Braves are taking on the Phillies. The Braves made a game of it on Friday night despite giving up 15 hits, but really, it's the 3 errors that probably had them tossing and turning all night in a game that they still very much had a chance to win. The Braves go with Schwellenbach in this one. The rookie, 5.68 ERA for the season, 5.06 over his last 3 starts, while the Phillies go with Ranger Suarez, who the luster is coming off of the shine, or the whatever you want to call it. 2.27 ERA for the season now, 4.86 over his last 3 starts. This guy had a sub-1 ERA just a couple of weeks ago. We look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and the Braves hitting lefties at 235, while the Phillies hitting righties at 260. But when sometimes you look at the line, and I'm not one of these guys who say, oh boy, the squares in the public and all that other stuff. But what I will say is sometimes the line will tell you the whole story. And you got a guy with a 5.68 ERA whose team is favored against a team after giving up 15 hits and committing 3 errors the night before. You take them every time. I'm going to take the Braves in the first 5. For our next game, we head to LA where the Dodgers are taking on the Brewers. James Paxton on the mound for the Dodgers. Freddie Peralta on the mound for the Brewers. It was the Dodgers getting the best of it Friday night, 8-5. And the thing is that, well, Milwaukee really has never played well against the Dodgers, who have been the thorn in the Brewers' side. If the Brewers want to go to that next level, be a World Series type team, this is the team that really has stopped them from doing that. The Brewers just 8-20 in the last 28 meetings of these two teams. We look at Paxton with his 4.28 ERA for the season and 5.62 over his last 3 starts. Meanwhile, Peralta, 3.83 ERA in the season, down to 1.50 over his last 3 starts. After looking a little tired at times, and he's kind of put it back together. The Brewers hitting .297 versus lefties over their last 10 games, while the Dodgers hitting .251 versus right-handed pitching over their last 10. But I just think if the Brewers can't beat them tonight with Peralta, well, they're probably never going to beat them. I'll take the Brewers in the first 5 as well. For our next game, we head to Colorado where the Rockies are taking on the Royals. Austin Gomber on the bump for the Rockies. It's Seth Lugo on the mound for the Royals. The thing is the Royals have been absolutely horrible on the road, but Lugo's been very good everywhere. 2.17 ERA on the season, 0.96 ERA over his last 3 starts, while Gomber, 4.72 ERA on the season, 6.50 ERA over his last 3 starts. Look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and the Rockies just 198 over their last 10 games, and the Royals at 255, including 260 versus left-handed pitching, while the Rockies 206 versus right-handed pitching over their last 10 games. But the thing is we know when the Rockies get streaky hot at home, it's a little bit of a different story. And of course, Lugo's put together those big numbers. They haven't been at Coors Field. I gotta say, I just think when teams are running cold, it's always a good chance to fade, especially at a nice price. I'll just take the Rockies in the first 5 of this one. For our next and final game, we go to San Diego where the Padres are taking on the Diamondbacks in a National League West battle. Of course, the Padres, it's hard to believe this, but 11 games in a row at home have gone over the total. That's how good they're hitting the baseball. They're also 10-1 in those 11, their last 11 at home. It's Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres in this one. 3.56 ERA on the season, 3.12 over his last 3 starts, while Brandon Pfaadt goes for the D-backs, 4.28 ERA for the season and 3.86 over his last 3 starts. So he's done a nice job as well. We look at the way these teams are hitting right-handed pitching, and it's 271 over their last 10 for the D-backs, 274 for the Padres. Both these teams absolutely hitting the cover off the ball, while against lefties, also big numbers against them as well. I just think both these teams, can hammer the baseball, and certainly sets up for an over once again. I'm going to take the over in the first 5, and that's going to be my pick for this game. Well, that wraps up today's first 5 innings for all 15 Major League Baseball games. Of course, if you're looking for my best bets, the games I'm betting today, we have those over at the website under the Premium Picks tab. You can use the discount code PICK for 15% off. Of course, we have tons of free content here on YouTube as well as on our website as well. But of course, if you're looking for cool PickDawgz gear, like the shirt I'm wearing, the hat, and plenty of other cool stuff, just click on the merch tab. I have links in the description for both Premium Picks and the merch. You can click on those, or if you're just here to consume the free content, that's all cool with us as well. This is Mitch. Thanks for joining me. We appreciate each and every one of you that visit our PickDawgz YouTube channel, as well as those that visit our website or visit both, and for being part of our PickDawgz family. We'll see you tomorrow with more first 5 innings picks.